Hey everyone, welcome to Kickin' with Kipes, the NHL playoffs. They continue to roll on with some very good games. Let's talk about it. Starting off with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers in round two. The last time these two teams met 2 years ago, the Florida Panthers only let the Leafs win one time, and that was a very lucky, not lucky, but maybe very generous thing to do for the Florida Panthers 2 years ago, and the Leafs have already doubled that tally from 2 years ago. The Toronto Maple Leafs, they win 4-3 in regulation against the Florida Panthers to take a 2-0 series lead to head to Florida. Game one had all of its controversies, had all of its drama, but this game was a little controversial, a little drama, but nothing too crazy. Joseph Woll, he did have to start this game for the Toronto Maple Leafs due to Anthony Stolarz being hurt. Because of what happened in the first game, we won't talk about it because it was a bunch of bull. But Sergei Bobrovsky, he has now been outplayed and outclassed by two separate Toronto Maple Leaf goalies. Starting off with the goal scoring, Barkov, he scores with just, I think it was around halfway through the first period on the power play. I think it only took about 5 seconds on the power play for Barkov to get the goal. Beautiful shot, right, I think it was on the right hand. No, it was on the left hand. Joseph Woll's right. I'm thinking out loud. You guys are watching this in person. It was Joseph Woll's right hand face-off circle, but it was the left hand face-off circle. Barkov just ripped it right past Woll for a very nice goal. Then with under 2 minutes left to go in the first period, Max Pacioretty, Patches, he scores a goal to tie the game at one apiece to head into the first intermission. Max Pacioretty, if he continues to be as consistent as he has been in the last couple games, there is no chance in this world that Nick Robertson sees the ice again in these playoffs. But that momentum that you would have hoped to get from Max Pacioretty scoring that late in the first period would carry over to the second period. That just does not happen in this one. Brad Marchand, he scores 15 seconds into the first period. That's actually the second period. I don't know why I said the first period, but that's okay. Marchand, public enemy number one in the past couple of years for playing for the Boston Bruins against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And it usually and always has gone Brad Marchand's way, but in these first two games, it most definitely has not. And then Willie Stiles, William Nylander, he continues to be awesome, scoring his 6th goal of the playoffs. He had 2 goals in the clinching game against Ottawa. He had 2 goals in the first game against Florida. He picks up another goal in this one. Absolutely awesome playoffs that he is having so far. And then Max Domi, he only seems to be noticed when he is making these good plays. He rifles a shot past Bobrovsky and making Bobrovsky look a little bit silly, to be honest. Max Domi, he has had a pretty up and down playoffs. He hasn't looked very good, and then he scores the game-winning overtime goal against Ottawa. He hasn't looked very good, and then he scores this goal to put the Leafs up. And it just looks so good when he scores. And he is always a pass-first kind of guy, and that hinders him a lot. It was actually in this game that he decided to pass when he easily could have shot and had a clean shot on net. So to him taking this shot just proves to us and should prove to him that he should just shoot the dang puck sometimes. Anton Lundell, he picks up his 3rd of the playoffs, giving the Florida Panthers a little bit of extra life in this game. But then it doesn't take long for Mitch Marner to score right off the post. It was the best tink that I have ever heard in my entire life, if I'm being completely honest. The Leafs, they scratch and scrape and crawl their way to the finish line. Lots of blocked shots, lots of last-ditch efforts to get in front of the puck, and it works. The Leafs, they hold on to the victory, hold on to the 2-0 series lead heading to Florida, where I think they might split those 2 games. The Florida Panthers, I don't see the Leafs sweeping this team by any means. I would absolutely love it, but I do not see it whatsoever. Game 3 will be on Friday. It will be in Florida, so we will see you then. And yeah, I'm extremely impressed with this Maple Leafs team so far, composure-wise, in these first 2 games of this Florida series. And don't get your hopes up yet, but you only need 10 more wins. Up next, we got the Dallas Stars taking on the Winnipeg Jets in Game 1 of this Western Conference semifinal, where Mikko Rantanen defeats the Winnipeg Jets 3-2. Mikko Rantanen, he picks up a natural hat trick in this game, scoring his 6th, 7th, and 8th goal of the playoffs. Absolutely electric. Mikko Rantanen, playoff Moose is a real thing, and he is alive and hungry right now in these playoffs. Nino Niederreiter for the Winnipeg Jets, he actually started off with the game opening goal and getting that whiteout crowd in Winnipeg going bananas. It didn't mean too much because Rantanen took over that second period. Nothing else really happened. And yeah, Winnipeg had no answer. Hellebuck had no answer. And my coworker, who's a Jets fan, Hellebuck, he looked a little shaky in this game, but as a whole, he looked pretty solid. He looked very composed, and he looked very solid for most of the game, but it just fell apart at the seams for him when Rantanen was on the ice, it seems. Mark Scheifele, he wasn't in the past 2 games for the Winnipeg Jets due to injury, but he comes back in this game and he becomes an immediate effect. He scores his 3rd of the playoffs and tried to give life to his teammates and himself, but the Jets were not able to do anything with that momentum, and they still couldn't get the game-tying goal. Not for a lack of effort by any means. They were storming. I didn't know what to say there. They were storming that Jake Ottinger crease. They were storming that net, and the Stars, they held firm. Their defense is a little shaky right now, but if you add Miro Heiskanen into this lineup and you add Jason Roberts into this lineup, they are going to be way harder to defeat, and you couldn't do it in this game. And if we're being completely honest, this will be a audition for both these goalies to see who can be the starting goalie for Team USA at the Olympics this coming winter. So Hellebuck, don't choke, because that's what you're good at. On that note, there was only 2 games tonight, so that is it covered for you. And yeah, I don't know how many games there are tomorrow, but we will be here. Stay tuned for my predictions, and we will be back for more recaps tomorrow. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.